Hi guys, and welcome to this lesson, which is on practice. Now, this video is probably the most important out of everything within the coaching program, because if you don't practice properly, you simply will not progress. So I'm here to tell you some amazing practice habits that you can cultivate and integrate into your own practice regimes or routines to ensure every time you practice, you make outstanding progress. That is what you're trying to do. Every minute you practice is with a goal and you want to become outstanding. Okay, but there's a few little things that we need to just talk about first. Okay, so what are we going to cover in this video? We're going to talk about the art of patience, being patient. We're also going to talk about the basics, just some basics. We're going to talk about having a goal for your practice. We're going to talk about creating the right environment for you to practice in. And we're going to talk about assessment. How do you know if you're getting better? Which is, of course, the whole idea of practicing. So that is the overview of what we are going to cover in this video. Okay, here we go. Patience. Being patient. Are you a patient person? We need to be patient to make amazing progress. A great quote that I've also seen is, impatience is the enemy of the ambitious player. Practice plus patience equals progress. Practice, which goes without saying, we need to practice, but we need to practice with patience. That is what will give us outstanding progress. Okay, so the question is, how can we practice patiently? So here's one answer: slow down, slow everything down. Because if we can't play something slowly and correctly, it will be virtually impossible to play at a quicker tempo. Okay, so you've got to be honest with yourself and make sure your expectations are realistic. Slowing things down and playing them perfectly with no mistakes will stand you in good stead for perfect progress, which is, of course, what we are always going for. Never, ever practice mistakes. If you do make a mistake, that's fine, but don't do it again. Try to understand why it happened and then adjust what you are doing, okay? And the chances are you're trying to either do too many things at the same time, or you're trying to play too quickly. Slow things down. So practicing perfectly, perfect practice will equal perfect progress. I'll say that again. Perfect practice. Making no mistakes, slowing everything down. Understanding what we're trying to do. Knowing our goal. Perfect practice equals perfect progress. Be patient. Be patient with yourself, and amazing results will come your way. So we've already spoken about practicing perfectly and slowly, but here is another way to practice tricky passages. Practice the speed that you want to play at, but only play the phrase as far as you can perfectly. So, for example, let's look at this phrase now, and this is a phrase from a Clifford Brown solo over Sandu. Perfect practice equals perfect progress. If you follow this rule, you can't fail to make outstanding progress every time you practice. Now, of course, your expectations must be real, okay? It's no good saying, right, by the end of this week, I will be able to play the whole of Clifford Brown solo over Sandu from memory. Because unless you've got the support in, unless you've scaffolded your learning over many, many years, that will be virtually impossible, okay? So we can only go as fast as we can go, okay? Nature has to take its course. We have to build up our knowledge and skills in small chunks, okay? So we're at all different standards of levels of musical ability, but we can still make perfect progress every lesson by practicing the same way. Another thing you can do is don't let yourself play anything sloppy. Just never let yourself play anything with bad timing, with a bad sound, bad articulation, okay? The activities and lessons set out in this program are aimed at motivated students determined to make outstanding progress. And I believe that you can do it, but it's all about practicing the right way. If you're practicing as I'm asking you, advising you to, in this video, then you are going to make amazing progress. Okay, that leads us nicely to the next part of this video, where we were talking about goal setting, having a goal for ourselves. So goal setting, very, very important. Goal setting. If we don't have a goal, or if we don't have a target, what are we trying to get better at? It's just aimless blowing, okay? There's a big difference between practicing and playing. I believe many, many players around the world play their instruments a lot every day, but if you are not focused on what you're trying to improve, you will just plateau for a long, long time. You need to be very targeted, goal-driven, have that goal, have that target, and you know what you're aiming for. You're going to improve, especially when you incorporate the perfect practice attitude that we've already spoken about at length. So there's 3 goals you can set. Short-term goal, what am I trying to improve in this practice session? 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever that may be. Medium-term goal could be 1 week to 2 weeks. What is it I'm trying to improve in those 2 weeks? And long-term goal, maybe a month, okay? So one of the first tunes we're going to be looking at in the program is All of Me, the jazz standard All of Me. And I've set it up in a way where you shouldn't be moving on to the next part of the lesson unless you can play the previous part, because everything's designed in such a way to scaffold your learning. You can't move on to the next section until you can play the previous one perfectly, because it's like putting a Lego brick on top of a Lego brick. If that Lego brick underneath isn't there, there's nothing for it to go on. It's just going to fall over. It's not going to be, we need a solid foundation, and that we're building a wall, okay? And placing a brick each time, just getting higher and higher, and the higher that wall goes, the more knowledge we've got and the higher our skills have developed. So if we take a quick look at All of Me, you will see that I've divided the lesson into 2 big chunks, okay? So straight away, there are 2 goals. There are 2 targets for you to achieve. The first target is chords and rhythm. And take a look there. Activity 1 right through to activity 15. All designed and planned to scaffold your learning. So for All of Me and the tunes within the coaching program, all your target setting has pretty much been done. You've just got to decide how much of it you want to do each day. And then you can see in the next part of the lesson, for All of Me, we're working on approach notes, which is targeting the tonics, targeting the thirds, and approaching them using 8 notes. Again, divided that into 12 separate lessons. So they're your targets, and you can't move on, or you shouldn't move on, until you can play it perfectly. And then when you can play it perfectly, you're ready to move on. By practicing perfectly, I think you're going to be amazed at how quickly you do make progress. Target setting, very, very important. Creating the perfect practice environment. What might that look like? Well, it certainly doesn't involve watching TV and practicing. I've heard some people say that. If you are watching TV, you are not doing what you should be doing. And that is listening, focused practice, perfect practice with all your attention. Make sure your practice place is comfortable and ideally no distractions. Turn off the mobile phone, no radio, no TV, and get yourself into a good frame of mind. Try some deep breathing first. In for 4, out for 4, in for 4, out for 4. Try that for a couple of minutes. Get focused. And most importantly, what is your goal? Before you even start, think, right, what is it I am trying to improve? What am I going to get better at or try to get better at in the next 20 minutes or however long your practice session is? So I believe this is probably the most important video out of the whole coaching program. Make sure you watch it a few times, take some bullet point notes and use those notes to inform your practice. Hopefully you've found some real little nuggets that you've not been incorporating into your own playing, and maybe that's why you aren't making the progress that you think you should be. Okay, as I mentioned, very important, there's a big difference between playing and practicing. Lots of people play, not many people practice. Have those goals, practice perfectly, use them all in every activity, every lesson, and I think it's really going to help you make amazing progress. This isn't something I've just thought up on the cuff. This is after 40 years of playing a musical instrument and 12 years teaching professionally. These techniques really do work. So make sure you use them, guys, and the best of luck with the program.